he died, and there was an AFTRA strike that was for 3 months. And of course, I'm AFTRA, and I had to get off, and I lost my spot. And the new head did not like us. He had his own the Crusader Rabbit part.
Okay, we're back on, and we're going to talk a little bit about Crusader Rabbit. So
All right.
How did you first get involved?
How did it happen? Well, let's see. How did it happen? I think it was my mother who said, I heard something about their auditioning for an animal of some sort to be on television or something. Do you want to find out what you can? And I forgot who told me. It must have been at one of the studios that it was Jay Ward and Alex Anderson. Alex was the soul, the heart, the whole genius of the rabbit. Jay Ward was the real estate man, a lovely man and a good businessman, but Alex created the rabbit. And the walk of Crusader Rabbit, he walks with his little fists going like this. Well, his little 2-year-old son, I saw him, he walks that way. That's how he got the walk for the rabbit. And he was an ad man, and he wanted to get out of it and get into animation. And Jay was his good friend and a well-to-do real estate man. They lived in Claremont, right near Claremont, the hotel there. It's East Bay, Oakland. Claremont is the classy part. Okay. So I went over and they said, I think it was Jay who said to come over, but it would be at Alex's garage, the audition. I said, okay. He said, we've auditioned all over the country, and now we're going to have you come in, and we want to see what you do with it. So they told me about the rabbit, and they told me what kind of a voice would he have. They didn't tell me what kind. They asked me what kind of a voice did I going to do for him. And I said, okay. And he said, let's do it. So we did it. And I didn't hear anything, but then a few, weeks later or something, they said I had the rabbit.
Did they show you what it looked like? Did they draw it for you?
No. They had one picture. A picture, yes, they did. They had one. No, they didn't draw it for me. I think they had a picture Alex had done, and it showed Crusader walking like this, And what else should I say about that? So that was the way it was going to be. So all of a sudden, then we heard that it had sold, and it was going to go on television. And let me think. Russ Coughlin, who was at ABC, later on he became the manager and everything. He was an actor and a voiceover and a real character, he was a wonderful guy, Russ. He became all the evil guys on the rabbit. And Vern Loudon, who was an announcer on an Oakland station, very nice guy. Vern became my buddy, the tiger, Rags the tiger. Raglan T. Tiger, they called him, Raglan T. Tiger. And wait a minute, there was somebody else. Oh, the announcer was Roy Whaley. Yeah, Roy Whaley, that's right, he was the announcer.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that audition? You went to the garage and did they record you?
They recorded me. They had a camera there and everything, and they recorded at the same time. I had to do it a few times.
On camera they did it?
Well, I guess wherever the camera, they did take pictures. And they had me walking the length of the garage. It wasn't a very big garage, but I'd walk from one side to the other. I did it 4 or 5 times at least, and talked, made up some dialogue. They didn't have any written dialogue.
Did you try various voices, or just you went with one?
I think I went with one, because I didn't know what the rabbit, and I thought that sounds to me like the rabbit. Hey, Tiger, it's me, Crusader Rabbit. He was higher voiced then, they liked it higher. But I thought it should have been a little lower, but that's to each his own. They raised it, they can't tell me keep it up.
Do you remember how they described it to you?
They said he's a feisty little rabbit. He's out to right the wrongs in the world and save the helpless, and make things good for the people that are getting a rough deal. He's he's almost a Robin Hood rabbit, if you know what I mean. So I got the idea. He was always out. The first one was saving the jackrabbits in Texas. They were having problems, and he wanted to go to Texas to help the jackrabbits. And So they said they were going to do it, but they said we're a low budget and we haven't sold it yet. So we're going to be I was still going to school at the time. We're going to do it at night from 9 to 4 a.m. on Powell Street in San Francisco. Then United Airlines moved in the building, but then there was a recording studio. I can't even think of it. Sound record? No, not. I can't think of the name of the thing, but it was there then. And the engineer was Pappy Wong, and he was Asian, great Chinese engineer, and a nice human being. Because working at those hours at night was tough, and for me it was especially tough going to school, and working till 9 to 4, and they had one bed there in the studio, and they said whoever's not on, if they can sleep there till they're on. So we took turns sleeping, and somebody would wake us up. Hey, you're on. Come on now. Get up, get up, get up. So that's the way it was. And then Ward, he had a big St. Bernard dog, and he was terribly afraid of flying. I think he'd had an accident or something. He didn't want to get on an airplane. So the dog and he traveled first class to New York to try to sell it. And the announcers would be saying, the guys would be saying, geez, what that cost, that dog gets a trip to, first class. And look at us, we're not making a dime, and the dog is going into first class to New York City. So that was it. And then Jay had sold it to Carnation, I think was the first. I hope I'm right on that. I think it was the first sponsor. And we were getting at the great amount of money of $5 a week, an episode, $5. And the way Jay would pay us, he'd say, all right, everybody, who needs that money this week? Well, I was a kid, I was the last to get the money because my rent's coming due, my wife is sick, or oh God, I've got to move, I haven't got a place to live, I need that money. Because we do usually a week's episode. We'd work every night for about a week at a time. So we did about 5 shows or 3 shows. I can't exactly remember, but that was it. And then it got sold. And then we got $30 and things were getting better. And it was catching on. It was doing really well. And Jay went down to Hollywood to see if he could sell not Crusader, but sell some of his other shows in Hollywood. So he went to Metro Media, and Charles Bonsall, who was a horrible guy, everybody hated Charles. He was from the garment jungles of New York City, and the guys from the garment jungles are real horrible creatures. And he came from that. But he became the president of Metro Media, and he was filthy rich. So Jay went to him to try to see if he could sell his other shows. And he put his books and briefcase on Bonsall's desk, which was a big mistake. So as he was leaving, he started to pick him up, and Bonsall says, wait a minute, don't touch Crusader Rabbit. He said, what do you mean don't touch it? I didn't bring it to you to buy. I want to take it back home. Oh no, he says, you don't. You put it on my desk. That's kind of a guy he was. And anything that's on my desk as president of Metro Media belongs to Metro Media. You can't take that out of this building. And Jay was frightened because he thought, oh my God, I'll lose everything. You know what I mean? He was so upset. And poor Alex almost died. He got a terrible ulcer, was in the hospital, because he says, after 20 years of being a top animator for commercials, I thought now I could have a show and relax. Now I have to go and ask him for a job. And he worked at another job in San Francisco as an animator in an ad agency, and he hated it. But he had a terrible ulcer. They didn't know if he was going to live. It was so bad, because his whole dream was crushed. Okay. And now getting back to the Bonsall story, I get a call, and it says, this is Charles Bonsall. I bought the rabbit, and I want you as Crusader. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, I'm not going union. But I said, I've just joined the union. I was a youngster. I didn't have a lawyer. I didn't have an agent. I was me. And I've been successful as me alone, so I didn't think, poor deluded human being, that I needed somebody. So he says, well, I tell you, we'll pay you $30 and no reruns. I said, but I'm just getting reruns now. Well, he says, you won't get them anymore. You get 30, and we're going to do it in Mexico. Oh, and then Hanna-Barbera called me the next day and said, we're starting Hanna-Barbera. They were leaving MGM. They had left. And we are going to do a show called Rough and Ready. We want you as our rough, and we'll pay you $50,000 for 4 years, exclusivity. Oh, 50,000! I never had that much money in my life. I thought, my God, to be a Hanna-Barbera. Oh, I had worked commercials for them at MGM. I thought, this is wonderful. Well, I didn't realize that Bonsall called again and said, you are our rabbit. But I said, I don't want to do it, but you belong to us. So I went to the union. They had a lawyer there, and I didn't understand. I understand the game now. Shall we say that when somebody says, you help me and I'll help you, and I'll help you, you help me, I'll help you. Mainly I'll help you. You think it's my big brother, he's going to help me. What he means, you pay me, baby, and then I'll help you. But, well, I didn't get the message. I was too dumb. I mean, too ignorant about it. I didn't know things like that. I was ignorant. I was innocent and ignorant. And I didn't know what he meant. I thought I got a big brother. Nothing happened. And Bonsall kept calling. And I said, wait a minute. What about, what's happening with me? Well, so far it's hard to do, honey. It's hard to do. So nothing. So then I got a call. Wait a minute. That was the other call from Hanna-Barbera for Bill Hanna. And he said, Lucille, we want you. And we'll make it up to you. We can't touch you because Bonsall is a rich, wealthy man, a successful man. He owns part of the LA Times. He owns something else and something else. He's so rich and so powerful in LA. If we go against him, Hanna-Barbera will never get off the ground. We cannot use you, but we'll make it up to you someday. And they did later, but 20 years, as Joe said in his book, 20 years later, made it up with Smurfette. But anyway, so, and I couldn't work anywhere. Whenever I went to a studio, they said, oh, you're supposed to do Crusader Rabbit, aren't you? And I said, well, no, I won't work. I'm union. That's non-union. Well, sorry, honey. I could not work for 3 months here. And then I got a call from Charles Bonsall saying, this is Charles Bonsall. And he said, we've got now Gigi Pearson, and she's understudying you. She's going to be the rabbit. And we've got all your tapes, so we're going to use a lot of your dialogue and very little of hers. I said, how can you? He says, we can do that, and that's what we're going to do. So go out now and get a job. I said, go out now after 3 months, and you ruined the best deal with Hanna-Barbera I ever could have had? Well, he says, honey, I'll never forget, all you've got is a phone call to prove it. And then he burst into wild laughter and hung up on a Friday, also on a Friday. And I thought, oh, God. And Alex finally got better, and then Jay started the idea of Rocky and Bullwinkle. That's why he started. That made him his money. And
all right, let me go back just a little bit about Crusader Rabbit, just the show itself.
yeah,
First of all, Alex Anderson, how much involved was he in the show?
he was involved, I'd say 75%, and Jay 25%. But I hated one thing Jay did. Until even when he died, that's when it changed. I've got to tell you this. He never gave Alex one credit. Never. Alex did he designed the characters. Alex wrote the scripts. He never gave him credit. Nobody knew the name of Alex Anderson. And when Jay was dead at his funeral, I said to Alex, my God, Alex, how could you stand it all these years to have done everything? All Jay was the front man, and he was the producer. But he didn't do a thing. Alex did everything, and you never got one line for all those stories. You created Rocky and Bullwinkle. You never got a credit for Rocky and Bullwinkle either. Well, he said Jay was a friend. I felt like saying, yeah, fine friend. But anyway, he says, now Jay's dead. Now he says, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to sue him. And later on I saw him, he said, I collected $8 million. He said, I waited over 20 years, but I didn't want to hurt my friend, but now he's not a friend anymore. Now it's a company, and I want my money. And I'm glad because Alex was so great. He inspired Rocky and Bullwinkle after Crusader. And look at the money they made for all the years, and not one line, not the writer, not he created a character. What do you call the person who draws the pictures too?
Animator?
The animator. He was the head animator. He created them. He was the writer of the scripts. Till later on, Bill Scott took over Rocky and Bullwinkle.
And during the production of the show, where was Alex Anderson? Did he?
He never came. They never let him. Jay never had him come to the studio. I never saw Alex until on parties or something, but I never saw him in a studio after that. He was never there for the production or anything. No.
During the time the whole thing was being shot?
No. I don't know what happened with Rocky and Bullwinkle because I didn't do it. I said to Jay, "You're going to do another show down here?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Are we going to be in it?" And he said, "I'm afraid not, because you made me." He said, "All you people, you made Crusader Rabbit. You made it famous, but now I'm in Hollywood, and I'm going to use Hollywood people."
So that schedule that you were keeping, that 9 p.m. to 4 a.m., so
Yeah.
9 p.m. was the call time. That's when
Call
you started.
time, yeah. We get in a little before call time, 8:45, so we couldn't be late because they were ready to shoot or record, rather.
And they recorded it on tape?
Yes. Yes.
And how were you doing it? Were you reading it from a script? Were you memorizing the part?
No, we read it from the script. And they'd write the script according to our voices and our characters, and we read it according. The one who had the big part in the early days of Crusader Rabbit was the announcer. The whole show was only 5 minutes, and 3.5 minutes was announcer narration, and 1.5 minutes was us. Or maybe a minute, I guess. But it was so little, he did everything. If you listen to it, it's all 90% narration.
Why was that? Why?
I don't know. That was the way it was written. But the people liked it. But gee, it was a lot of talk, before the act. But they had the pictures going. See, they would repeat all this, flashback to the day before. And when we left Crusader Rabbit, as you remember, our friends were blah, 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 and then this happened, and Rags, as you recall, this and that, and then the new thing he would talk about, and then you'd see 1.5 minutes.
So was that sort of a cost-saving device as well?
I guess, I don't know. I thought it was kind of odd. Sometimes I thought he talks too much, the narrator. There should be more action. It was a cheap show to produce.
How did it look? I mean, if you looked at it.
It looked good. It really looked good. And you didn't see the announcer. You heard him. And you'd see the pictures of the rabbit. Often when he was talking, they'd flash different pictures of what was happening.
And how did he look? How did Crusader Rabbit look?
Oh, God, I should have brought a picture of him. Ah, I didn't. Oh, wait. Give me my purse after we were through with the interview. I have on my business card a picture of Crusader Rabbit.
All right.
Then you can see how he looked. In fact, you all can have one. If you want, I'll autograph
Can you
him
just
for
describe
you.
him for me, though?
Yeah, he was a little white rabbit, small, kind of strong and feisty, and walking with his little fist hands all the time. His paws looked like little fists like I'm doing now. And he wasn't very big, and Rag was big and gawky and the big, clumsy tiger.
And what was their relationship? The two?
Oh, they were good buddies. They loved each other dearly. I don't mean sexually, please, but I mean they loved each other dearly. They were always, "Hey, Crusader." Rags talked more like this. "Oh, hey, Crusader." Kind of a horse, voice. And Crusader would say, Yeah, what is it, Rags? I think we should fight those people who are hurting our jackrabbits in Texas. "All right, Crusader, let's go." It was that kind of a thing. He was so clumsy and so dumb. But he was good-natured.
And it was done as a serial, is it like
series.
the old days? Yeah.
And they always had a cliffhanger.
And do you remember some of the plots, or what were some of the things that Crusader would do?
Well, the Crusader went to fight those characters that were the Texans who were hurting the jackrabbits and protect them. And then there was a pirate thing. We went to the pirate main and pirate land, your ship where the pirates were. And Crusader would tell Rags, we got to sink those pirates. And of course Rags, oh, all right, Crusader, what do we do? And he says, I know, Rags, I know, let me do it, we'll do it, we can do it. Yeah, Crusader, but was it going to be painful? No! You know, that's the way they do it. And each episode ran, pretty long. I think at least 2 months or maybe longer. They were long episodes.
Was it a popular show? Was it?
Oh, it was so popular. Everywhere in the it was on at night. It came on right after my show. I was on from 6:20 on for 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, 6:20, whatever that was, then the guitarist came on for 10 or 15, and then Crusader came, and it was short. How long was our show? It was very short. It was only 5 minutes. We came right after, before about 6:55, something like that. And I'd have the kids from the birthday party stay to watch Crusader Rabbit. They loved it. We wanted to see Crusader. We really loved it.
Were you getting recognized? Did people know that you were the voice of Crusader?
Yeah, they began, and I got publicity and press publicity too, and pictures and everything. And yeah, they did. They would autograph. Can I have your autograph? Will I have your autograph?
Would you make appearances at places? Was there any kind of publicity machine going on?
Let me think. Did we make appearances? I don't think we did. No, I don't think so. Did we? I can't remember any. I'm sure I would if we did.
Were there toys or anything like that?
No. They went belly up before that.
Yeah.
He wasn't. We had been with a Carnation only about 13 weeks or maybe a little bit more, and then he blew it with Monsell. But not for him. He made money. He made a lot of money when it went to Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Mm-hmm. So when you were recording the show, were you doing almost as if it was a radio show? You'd all sort of walk up to a mic and you would read the script?
Yes, we'd stand at we had each our own mic, 3 mics. Is that all they needed? Yeah. So each one had a mic and they stood there and we'd stand there and read it just like a radio show.
And where was it shot? It was shot in?
In that studio on Powell Street. Mm-hmm. Pappy Wong, but he didn't own it. The guy came down here and started a company. I can't think of his name. I can't. It was so long ago. I just can't remember. I didn't think I had to. But anyway, what I was going to say, that's what happened.
Now, I know it was being produced in San Francisco for a while, where it was being drawn, and then later on it moved to Los Angeles.
That's when Rocky and Bullwinkle, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Or was Crusader then?
Crusader still, yeah.
Crusader, yeah, and we had Carnation Milk was our sponsor.
But the recording was still being all done in San Francisco. You never left there.
No. Jay went to New York and Jay went everywhere, but we didn't. We stayed in San Francisco.
Let me see what other questions I had on this. I wanted to ask about the comic elements of the show. Was it funny?
It was funny because Rags was such a clumsy jerk and dope. He was a real dopey guy. And Crusader was so sharp and so, and he was so small and so brave and so whoa. And here big Rags, Crusader, he was scared, you know what I mean? He was a timid tiger. But Crusader, no, he could take on the pirates. Come on, Rags, let's do it. Oh, but Crusader, we might sink. Oh, come on, the little guy. He was the feisty one, and he spurred on. All the hunts were engineered by Crusader.
And this wasn't network, right? It was being syndicated throughout the
It was being syndicated, and I think it went to network finally, just before we went off. Yes, we were going, Carnation had it network. Sure, because if it was in New York and we had it in San Francisco, yeah.
I want to mention the name of Jerry Fairbanks. Who is he?
Jerry was the one who kind of promoted the whole thing for Jay, because Jerry was the businessman. I don't know, we never saw him, we never met him, but he was involved with the rabbit. Mm-hmm. I don't know how financially or what, but I think it was through Jerry that we got Carnation. Jerry was the one in New York.
This was the only name I think that appeared.
Yes, because it was Jerry Fairbanks. He was the producer or something, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. And then when Jay went to New York to make the deal with Carnation, I think Jerry was in New York and told him to go there. And Jerry was instrumental. I'm sure he got a piece of the action. I better not say I'm sure. I'm not sure of anything.
And how many episodes were produced in total?
Yeah, how many? I wish I could remember that. I can't. We did a lot, though. We did a lot of different crusades, you know, crusaders, crusades. We must have done, we did at least more than 12 different series, and each series ran, I don't know how long, for quite a few weeks. But quite a few were produced. Maybe it was 150 or something. It was quite a bit.
It was a few years in production that you were doing it?
Oh, yes. Well,
And what do you think is the legacy of Crusader Rabbit?
how do you mean?
How do you think it influenced animation that followed?
Well, first people liked the incongruity of the little rabbit being such a big, brave little guy and the big, clumsy tiger. It's almost like a comedy show, you know what I mean? And they laughed and they liked to see what happened. Look, Rags was always having something happen to him, and Crusader always was the brave one. And once in a while they'd get in too deep, and then they'd say, "Oh, Crusader, what about it?" And he'd say, "I know, Rags, I know," something like it. "Yeah, we got to blah, 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 blah." But Crusader always pulled him out.
Do you get fan mail about Crusader Rabbit?
Oh, yes, I still, when I fly, because I fly all the time up to San Francisco, because I still work up. In fact, I was cast by Lucas for, George Lucas for The Bounty Hunter, which was his big game show. I played Rosetta, and my San Francisco agent cast me in that, although they did it down here. He flew down, Daryl O'Neill. Farrell, I better be careful. I can't remember the last. I don't want to make a mistake. But
It was
anyway,
a video game? That was a video game?
it's on PlayStation 2. And it was quite like a big story, beautiful story. And she was the lead of the bounty hunters. And she was an older woman in love with a younger man, one of the young bounty hunter. And she loved him dearly, it's quite romantic, a great story to that game. And
Okay, let me bring you back.
bring me back. I'm off away.
You didn't get the rough and ready part, and you said a few months not working. What started you back up again?
When the strike was over, I couldn't work. And they had ruined everything for me. I said that to Bonzo. I said, "Well, now you call me 3 months later, you ruined my life. As far as working, I couldn't work. I lost the big contract with Hanna-Barbera, biggest contract I ever had in my life, and everything. And no other studio would touch me. I was too hot to handle." And that's when he laughed. "All you have is a phone call to prove it." It's just the way he laughed. He was the most disgusting, horrible human being. Yeah. That's that.
So you kept going. You were doing other things. Now you're appearing on
Commercials, yeah.
What was some of the advertising that you did? Commercials?
I worked for Bob Pritikin, who's was a very big ad man and is quite a personality in San Francisco. He built a gorgeous home like Gone with the Wind, like Tara. And he gives, in fact, I'm always invited to his parties. He gives a celebrity party every Labor Day in his yard, big, he has gorgeous grounds, and the building is inside like a museum, honest to God, the most beautiful sculptures. He has sculptures hand-painted not sculptures, paintings, of the whole wall, and all kinds of the most gorgeous furniture. He's quite a wealthy retired ad man, and he does all kinds of things. He had Tammy Faye as one of his people, and Carol Channing last Labor Day. This Labor Day, it's going to be Eddie Fisher. I'm always invited with a guest to it, because I started with Bob way back when, at his first, practically his first commercials, when he worked for Del Monte. I did Del Monte Peaches, the commercial.
Okay, we're at the end of our tape, so we can stop right